I've been pretty consistently releasing new music for the last few years, and that's been a long process to get to that point where I'm able to continue to write music and continue to release new material. So I kind of wanted to share some of the things that I've learned over the years that have helped me get to that point, and in the process, hopefully it helps you out if you're able to pick up some of the ideas and see if it works for you. One of them is, first is really to understand what you're working with. When you're dealing with plugins, when you're dealing with your DAW, all that stuff, it's a pretty generic thing that a lot of people say, but it is true to really understand the tools that you're working with and to have a few favorites, whether it's reverb plugins, delays, whatever it is, to have a couple of favorites that you always can kind of go back to and you understand, because being overwhelmed with a lot of different options sometimes isn't a good thing. But then again, in the proverbial words of Neil Peart, sometimes less is more, sometimes less is just less. So it's really a matter of personal preference. But I certainly have, at many points, have found myself being overwhelmed with all the different components that can help writing music. And oftentimes when I finish a song, it's because I was able to kind of knock it down using fewer and fewer elements, whether that's components within a song or whether that's the processors that I'm using. That's one of them. The other thing for me is, and I think this is actually the most important part of it for me, is the writing process is a frustrating process. The creative process is something where you're going to have moments where it clicks and you're going to have plenty of moments where things just aren't working out. And so what I find, as certainly was the case for me, is I can come up with 100 different ideas, but not be able to finish them. What I found works for me is I will take 2 or 3 different ideas and I will just focus on them and focus on working on them. Shutting off all distractions, what I do is I do it in 1 hour increments, where for that 1 hour, all my distractions are off, all my notifications are off. I will even lock away the phone. But I know that for that hour, aside from the distractions, I'm going to sit there and work on this one particular song. Even if I don't make any progress in that 1 hour, that's fine. If I get frustrated after that hour, I can switch to one of the other couple of projects that I have, but I'm going to keep coming back and rotating through it. And what I've found is that working through that frustration, sometimes it takes longer, sometimes it takes shorter, but there's always an outcome. There's always something that happens. So if I'm able to kind of create a structure, but I cannot figure out a melodic idea, coming back to it oftentimes will do that. And so for me, doing that over and over has allowed me to keep creating music. And even though within the time frame that I put for myself, it can be frustrating, I know that that frustration is part of the process. And once I'm done with it, I'm moving on to the next thing. And if I can't finish it, I'll come back to it. It's very much like exercising. If you're doing it on a daily basis, you're bound to get better at it and you're bound to be more consistent at it. So really, the creative process is much more about how maybe you feel or the mood you're in, all that stuff. But I definitely personally believe that if you work through those components, that you're going to be able to consistently put out more music and put out the music that you want to put out. The other thing is that I have 3 different approaches to writing music. One is I'll just open up Logic and I'll just start working on ideas that I think are cool or catchy or that might lead to something. The other for me as an instrumentalist is just oftentimes picking up the Chapman stick and improvising with very simple ideas and then capturing those ideas to come back to in a later time. The other thing that I do like is using the machine, sometimes doing loop-based stuff where I'm just sitting there jamming and trying to see if I can come up with anything. And 90% of the time that doesn't lead to anything, but that 10% of the time songs start getting developed and they start working through it. Those are really the main components for how I write music and how I approach it. But I think the main thing is the consistency aspect of it and realizing that frustration is part of the process is, at least for me, has been pretty helpful to help me get through it and to not give myself time to think, well, I have writer's block, so in a couple of months I'll be able to do things. And so this has been through many, many years of writing music and doing that stuff and going through different iterations of it. But to be able to consistently write music is very much like exercising. The more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. Oftentimes you're not going to come up with the results that you want. You may be unhappy with them, but the more you're working on it, the more that's just going to become a formulaic thing where the creativity and the consistency kind of melt together and are able to create what you want. And ultimately, the other thing is, I know there's all kinds of videos telling you how to write music and do different things like that. Music, like any other creative process, is a very personal one. And so at the end of the day, if something captivates you and something is worth pursuing, and writing, that's the end result. And so to work through those things, I think is an important part of it, and really understanding that the ups and downs of it are just part of the process is what helps out. What I've learned over time is that the roller coaster ride doesn't stop being a roller coaster ride. You just get used to it. And when you get used to it, you're more accepting of moments where you're not being creative or not doing anything. And you're using it to your benefit and advantage when it is working and you are being productive. Anyway, that's my little spiel about writing music. I am releasing 3 new songs in the next couple of weeks. One is a 2-song EP called Chasing Clouds, and the other one that will be coming out next Friday is called Seeker of Light. And these are songs that I've been working on for the last couple of months that I'm excited to release. Thanks for watching, and I hope that this helped you in some capacity.